Now, Israeli media is reporting that an El Al plane that took off from Warsaw had to make an emergency landing in Antalya in Turkey earlier and is now being prevented from taking off or refueling. Well, to talk more about that, we're joined by Dr. Sinan Ciddi, a senior fellow on Turkey at the Foundation for the Defence of Democracies. Thank you very much for joining us, Sinan. And first of all, can you confirm for us that the plane has been prevented from leaving, and if so, why?
So it defies reason. As last I checked, it seemed as though the plane was permitted to take off, but it's had to sort of stop in another country now for refueling purposes. There is no explanation at this point in time as to why they prevented the plane from A, being refueled, and B, allowing passengers off the plane. I understand that the person who was reported to have a medical emergency may be receiving treatment. But it defies reason and basic human decency as to why a plane should be refueled on its way back to its home country after making an emergency landing. It's pretty vague so far, so we're still waiting for what the government authorities are going to say. But one of the other things I read was one of the actual airport employees that's responsible for refueling planes said he flat out refused to provide fuel for the plane.
Right, and is this being covered at all in the Turkish media?
I haven't seen this actual particular item making its news as of now. So presumably, the mainstream media that's close to Erdogan is either sort of damping this down or essentially just wanting to ignore it. Basically, they're not seeing it as something significant. And even if they do report it, they're going to probably likely cover up this notion of that they've refused to provide the plane with fueling rights.
And it wasn't so long ago you could get on a Turkish Airlines flight from Tel Aviv and fly to Istanbul. Those flights have been scrapped, I think, until March 2025 at least. And of course, President Erdogan cancelled all trade ties with Israel, a pretty significant trade relationship. Is this just the latest step in an ever worsening relationship?
So, correcting all those observations, I mean, the Turks have lost out big on essentially, allowing Turkish Airlines flights to operate direct flights between Turkey and Israel. That's impacted, obviously, Turkey's tourism industry. Turkey's general stance, or the Turkish government's general stance to sort of take a severe anti-Israeli position on the world stage has also hurt its commercial reputation. But more than this, I think it should be said this. I mean, the emergency landing is a humanitarian issue, right? You clearly have a person on board that requires medical treatment. Otherwise, the plane wouldn't request it, because the distance from Warsaw to Tel Aviv is not that far. And that's one thing. And it should be remembered that it was only in February 2023 when Turkey experienced its most devastating earthquake in its entire history, leveling 10 cities, killing tens of thousands of Turkish citizens. Israel was one of the first countries to respond to Turkey in its darkest hour, and sent field hospitals, relief teams, rescue dogs, and rescued countless Turkish citizens without even batting an eye for what was happening in the political realm in between the governments of the two countries, because it was a fundamental humanitarian and human issue. Right? The fact that the Erdogan government is choosing to play politics over this is just absolutely flies in the face of decency.
I mean, President Erdogan, from the beginning, he's embraced Hamas. More recently, he embraced Hezbollah. He says Turkey would be on the side of Hezbollah should there be a war with Israel. He's compared Prime Minister Netanyahu to Hitler. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, are these positions supported by most people in Turkey?
You know, Turks are broadly sympathetic to Erdogan's position on Israel in the Gaza war. What Erdogan has done is basically sort of amplify that to the 10th degree by sort of essentially really really toning up his divisive and horrific rhetoric that's gone beyond just criticism of what Israel is doing. And this plain example is just the most recent sort of exposure of that, right? Presumably, there are people on that plane, I don't know the passenger manifest, who are not Israeli, right? Who are just foreign nationals on a plane, maybe taking a trip to Israel or to Tel Aviv for business or pleasure or whatever.
Yeah.
If one of those people got seriously sick or injured, who's going to be responsible for that, for not rendering aid to people in their time of need?
Absolutely. Dr. Sinan Ciddi, we appreciate it. Thank you.